Number 457. Number 457. We'll sing the first and third verse of this song, and then be led in prayer and dismissed to our classes. Walking alone at eve and viewing the skies afar, think the darkness come to welcome me, silver star. I have a great delight in the wonderful scenes above. Knowing His power and might is showing His truth and love. Oh, for a home with God.
Please bow your head with me. Dear Lord, bless all that have gathered here and all those who could not be. Please bless the teachers tonight so they may bring your word and help us understand the word. And thank you for giving us a blessing to spread your word. Amen.
Oh, is it working on your phone? How'd you get on your phone? I can't get on mine. That's not fair. Well,
I just kept mashing buttons.
okay. Evening. How is everyone? Cold? What? The wind is cold, yeah. It's kind of stuffy in here, isn't it? Y'all hot? I hear murmuring and complaining. I'm not sure what it means, but I know. Yeah. Isn't that, yeah. I just did, Jordan, before we started. It is, yes. It's warming up. So we're still in chapter 22, and we kind of rushed through a couple of things last week, and I want to pick back up in our study in Exodus. I do want to wish all those that are tuning in a good evening and hope that you're better. I know several people are tuning in tonight that are not able to be with us and would like to be here. This crud stuff that some of y'all have had to deal with, Not me. Huh? Oh, by the way, I was all completely over it earlier today, and then that cold wind came in, and all of once, it's like, it's still there. I'm like, I thought I got rid of you, but it's coming back. So, I might have to cut class short tonight. How about that? What? That's how you ferret it out right there. You see, I knew I'd catch them. I smoked them out. All right, there they are. Chapter 22, we're at verse 18. We've been, I think, rightly describing this section in the book of the covenant as kind of a bill of rights for the people of Israel, and I think that's a fair designation. But it's really broader than that. It's more like this is how you are to treat each other. And this is what God expects from his children. And they are viewed, as we noted last week, as children. They're just youngsters, and they don't understand how to, we might say, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but play well together. And so God is going in meticulous detail to explain to them, this is what you do in these circumstances. So it's really kind of an expression of this is what it means to love your neighbor. And we're gonna take that one to the next level tonight in our study. But it's also a warning about how he wants to protect his children. They're preparing, at least at this moment, at the foot of Mount Sinai. They're going to be here about a year. But they're preparing themselves to go into the land of Canaan, conquer the inhabitants there, and take possession of their cities and so on and so forth. So that's what they're getting ready to do. So how are they supposed to be prepared to do that? Well, they, first of all, need to understand that there are some things you can participate with, other things you cannot participate with. And it raises the question of tolerance. That's a word we hear battered around quite a bit today. Tolerance. And it kind of reminded me of the hippies, back in the 60s and 70s. They're screaming with that stupid song, sign, sign, everywhere a sign. Well, now the hippies are in charge. We got more signs we ever thought we could ever imagine to have. So, they were screaming about all the rules back then, and they've made 10,000 times more rules than we had when we were a free nation. So, that's kind of funny the way human nature is, but I'm saying that because the people that are preaching tolerance today are generally the least tolerant people you'll ever encounter. And so they're screaming tolerance because what they're really saying is, let me do my thing, live my life the way I want to live it, no matter how harmful, self-destructive, or destructive to others it may be. It's none of your business. You don't judge me. Tolerate me. Okay, Jesus is the Son of God. There you go with that hateful rhetoric. So they want you to be quiet. It's like, okay, I see how this works. You can say what you want to say, live the way you want to live, but I'm not free to say what I want to say or live the way I want to live. So I just never have bought into that, and I guess you'll see why in just a few moments. But when you get into this thing of tolerance, one thing we need to ask ourselves, and this is one thing we're discovering as God is instructing these children of Israel, he's instructing them how to deal with certain things. Now, sorceress, you say, well, what is a sorceress? Well, in Leviticus chapter 20, both male and female are mentioned there. So it's not just the females that are practicing the dark arts, but it's also the males, and they were not to be tolerated at all. In fact, they were to be executed, summarily put to death. Okay, we say that's harsh. And why would God do that? By the way, one of the points I made as we were closing last week, when you think about all the things associated with sorcery and a sorceress and a warlock or whatever, we typically think of like Darren and Bewitched, or we think something innocent or cute or sweet or whatever. But when we look back in time and we see what these people were actually doing and the dark arts they were practicing, associated with it, a big part of it, I might say, was drugs, particularly poisons, how to take people out, how to kill people. So if you wanted to take your husband out because you're tired of the way he talks to you or ignores you or whatever, you just go see the witch and she'll give you some kind of potion. You put it in his M&Ms and then the next thing you know, it's gone. So they were literally, we might say, the drug dealers of their day. And if you look at it that way, and that's probably just a small way of looking at it, but if you look at it that way, it kind of gives you an idea of how God thinks a society should deal with people that deal drugs. You say, well, okay, but people make money selling drugs. Oh, yeah. These witches made quite a bit of money. That's what you think motivated them. They like horns and chicken blood. I mean, I don't know what it was that attracted them other than the money. Maybe the lifestyle. I don't know. Maybe the drugs. But when you think about what drug dealers are doing to our society, how are they impacting us as a society? You know, people say, well, it's none of your business if I want to get drunk every day and drink. Okay, fine. Do that. Go to hell. That's your business if that's what you want to do. But when you get behind the wheel of a car and you're driving on the road drunk, that's my business because you're threatening my life and my children's life. And so when you have a drug dealer in your community, you say, well, it's none of y'all's business. Just stay out of our business. We'll do our thing. You do your thing. The problem is it doesn't end there because those that are high are not capable of running vehicles or anything else or keeping a job. I mean, it affects us in many ways. Again, we have to think, how did God deal with this? Kill them. Next question. What about people that have sex with animals? Kill them. Why would God say, kill people that have sex with animals? Well, I don't know about you, but I'm just assuming if someone is that perverse, I'm trying to be nice, there's probably something horribly wrong with them. They're not right in the head. And there'll be later passages, we're not going to get into them in the book of the covenant, but later passages where God will describe certain behavior as, and the King James uses this term, confusion. And I think that's a concept that as a society we're losing our grip on. We just assume everybody can do whatever they want. We basically have become a bunch of libertarians, which by that philosophy eventually turns in on itself, and we find out it can't stand the test of time. And so as libertarians, we're allowing people to do whatever they want. But if you look at the way God dealt with this theocratic arrangement with his people, there's some things you just simply do not tolerate. Period. Sorceress, kill her. Somebody has sex with an animal, kill them. And you say, well, man, people don't do that today. Actually, about 5% of the population admits in this country, 5%, that's a lot of people. I mean, if you count illegal aliens, that's, wow, man, it's approaching nearly 400 million people. That's a lot of people. So if 5% are saying, I had relations with an animal, how many have actually had relations and didn't say? I don't know. But it's really kind of creepy when you think about it. Well, how should we deal with this stuff? You say, well, we're smarter than that. We're more advanced than that. But we're looking at laws that govern a community, that govern a society. You understand the difference between a theocratic arrangement where God is literally over his people, directly in charge, and he's telling them, this is how I want you to deal with these matters. Now, I don't know about how you see it, but the way I look at it is, if the one who made and wrote the DNA code tells me this is how you should respond to this particular situation, I'm going to listen to him because he knows me better than I know me. And he knows you better than anyone could know you. He knows us. He made us. He designed us. And he knows what should be tolerated and what shouldn't. I know that can be a gray area at times, but it is interesting when you look at the things they were to tolerate and the things they were not to tolerate. Now, we get into this section in the latter part of chapter 22. We might just simply say caring for the foreigners, the orphans, and the widows. And I want to look in on verse 21 for just a moment. You shall neither mistreat a stranger nor oppress him, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. What is a stranger in this context? I'm sorry? Someone new to the area. Okay, someone's not from around here, not an Israelite, just moved in the area. By the way, the rabbis interpreted it differently. They said the stranger was a Jew that had moved from some other part of the world. Anyway, they had weird ways of looking at things, but that's not what the term means. It's what we would call today an alien, someone that comes into your country and they're not a citizen, and so how should you treat them? Now, whenever we talk about immigration and we talk about people that have migrated to this country, I'm just curious in this room tonight, how many of you know that you had forefathers that came to America from another continent? How many of you know that? Just raise your hand if you know. Okay, that's pretty much everybody in the room. So we're all migrants, right? I mean, we all came here as migrants or some other way, but we came here from another place. But now we're citizens. Some of us were born that way. Most of us, I think, in this room were born as citizens. And we all appreciate more people coming to our country, particularly people that have something to offer, that can bring quality to our neighborhoods, not fentanyl, but quality to our neighborhoods. We appreciate that. And we want them to come through the door, gain permission, and yes, gain citizenship. That's what we want. But when you open the floodgates and say, you can come through, anybody that wants to, and we won't stop you. In fact, we'll just ship you to wherever you want to go, and then we'll buy you a phone, and we'll get you a place to live, and we'll buy your clothes, and we'll buy your food, and you citizens can just suck it up because you understand what I'm saying. This is a complicated issue, particularly today because we're ruled by madmen, by criminals and madmen. And I'm not gonna apologize for saying that. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. They're criminals that are running our country. They're bought and paid for criminals. And they're running a criminal enterprise, and we're all paying the price for it. And so here we are having to deal with this illegal immigration. There's a big difference in a migrant and someone who's here illegally. If you're here illegally, it means you're breaking what? You're a lawbreaker. So it's kind of complicated for us. When we look at a passage like this, we say, well, I got to be nice to these people. Well, okay, but how nice are we going to be to these people? I mean, they literally have more rights and are given more money from the government than I've ever received from the government. Government never gave me anything like that. We did get a stimulus check a few years ago. I bought a lift from my barn. That's kind of neat, but anyway, I got to use that. But I forgot, what was the stimulus check about? Y'all remember? Why did we do that? Was it COVID? Well, it's been longer than that. Really? Well, I've been sick. Maybe the government gave me some more money this week. I mean, I had the crud, send me a check. Anyway.
Now I wonder how many, I'm sure there's a record somewhere, of how many of them have killed our citizens.
Oh, those numbers are very high, yeah. There's a lady killed in Georgia. Where was this happen? What college campus was that? UGA, yeah. By an illegal, someone from Venezuela, I believe. Here illegally, deported and brought back. I mean, you understand this? When I say, we've got to be careful how we treat the strangers, it's more complicated in our situation than that because typically countries aren't run by the kind of insanity we're seeing today. It's just not normal for a government to say, hey, anybody wants to come in? That's just not normal. You basically have said, we don't have a country anymore. We're just living on some dirt, and y'all can come share the dirt with us if you want to, and by the way, we'll pay you to do it. I mean, it's crazy. You understand there's a motive behind it, but I'm not getting into politics. That's not what we're here to deal with. I'm just trying to explain what is happening and how sometimes when we read something like this in the Bible, our minds are exploding with all these emotions because we confuse illegal immigration with legal immigration. But there's someone in your area, they don't speak your language, they don't know your culture. What should you do for them? How should you treat them? I think these are passages certainly that would help us in that area. Of course, caring for the widows and orphans, something God has always, beginning in the book of the covenant, throughout the Old Testament, and into the New Testament. And by the way, pure and undefiled religion before God and the Father is what? Visit who? Fatherless and widows in their affliction, and to keep oneself unspotted from the world. So that's again, a very definition of real religion. This is what true religion looks like. It takes care of the most helpless among us, the orphans, the widows. And so we tend to cater to them and we care about them. We certainly don't want to take advantage of them. And we all have heard the horror stories of some woman that her husband passed away and she had all this equipment and all this land and all this other stuff, and people come in and just like vultures start swooping it up, and she don't know what to do with it. She don't know how to handle it. They're taking advantage of her, and everybody in their right mind knows it, And sometimes we can even press charges because we see that it's actually illegal what they're doing. Sometimes boundaries and borders on their property lines are changed and moved around. Deeds are swapped. I mean, things happen because people think I can get away with it because what's she going to do? What power does she have over me? And the answer to that is God sees everything. And if you look at this passage on how you deal and how you treat widows and orphans, God's saying, I'm watching and I'm seeing how you're treating these people. You mistreat these people, and God said, you're going to regret it. He didn't say those words, but that's literally what he meant. You will regret it if you take advantage of these people. Why? Because he sees it and he takes note of it. And here's an interesting thought. If you lend money to one of my people, among whom you is poor, you must not act as a creditor to him. You are not to charge him interest. You ever loan someone money as a member of the church? I typically just give money. I don't like to loan it. But if I'm loaning it, would I charge my brother interest to take it back? You know what's interesting? If you look at this broader principle, notice how God is very specific here. It's not just anyone in your midst, but someone who's poor in your midst. Who pays the highest interest rate in our country today? The poor, the people with the least credit. We literally have flipped the script on this. We're going in the opposite direction. God's saying don't charge them interest at all. We say 20%, 25%. I don't know what the limit is now, but I mean, some people are charged exorbitant amounts of money because, well, they can't afford otherwise. So, I mean, I heard somebody advertising on the radio today for small businesses. If you make as much as $20,000 a year, you can come get a loan from us and won't charge you anything. And I'm like, really? Won't ask any questions. I thought, ooh, broke leg, broke arm, burn my house down. I mean, I don't know what that means, but that's why they're advertising this stuff. So who is it that's punished here? The poor. It's just crazy, but it was the opposite there. But there's another principle, and that is with God's people, we should show deference. Now, when we talk about, and we often have emphasized, the need to do good unto all men. And that's what Paul said in Galatians. But he qualified it. Let's do good unto all men, especially they of the household of faith. Someone's a member of the church and they're in need, we should bend over backward to help them. Now, should we help other people? Certainly, but absolutely, if someone's a member of the house of God, they should be shown deference, and I'd certainly believe that's the case, at least in this principle. Do not charge your brother interest on money, food, or any other type of loan. Moses would go on to say in Deuteronomy 23, verse 19. So he's not just poor, but again, he's just your brother. You don't charge him interest. So again, that's an interesting thought. Now, verse 28 says, you shall not curse God nor curse a ruler of your people, even other criminals. You know, when I say that the ruler of our people today are criminals, I'm not cursing them. I'm stating a fact. You know, I was hearing tonight, I'm going to admit this. I fell off the wagon, but Fox News came on my car radio on the way to church tonight. It did. And the 5 was on. And I haven't watched the 5 in years. I don't even have it on my TV anymore. I really don't, but I turn it on. And anyway, they were talking about these court cases and these documents and all this evidence, mountains of it. Absolute corruption in your face. Nothing going to happen. That's interesting, but they're criminals. And there's no other way to describe what's happening to our country today. They say that a criminal enterprise has taken it over and is seeking to destroy it. Now, we can decide to let it happen, or we can do something about it. I don't know what to tell you, but we certainly need to be aware that's taking place. So, I mean, do with that as you will. But this general idea of don't curse God or a ruler of your people. If there's one thing that's missing in our society today, it is respect for the elderly, for those that are, that need to be esteemed. You go to Asian countries, and they go out of their way to cater to those that are older. Here, the older people literally have to basically dodge landmines on the way out the door of a church building because the kids are running like gangbusters and parents are going, ah, and the kids are knocking people down the aisle. I'm like, excuse me here. I hope y'all giving me carte blanche to just beat your child anytime I get ready because I'm tempted to do it a lot of times. I'm like, dude, you know, go out in the street and play or something. This is not the place to play. But nevertheless, our children need to be taught respect. They won't learn it on their own. Someone has to teach children to say yes, sir, no, sir, to show deference to the elderly, to be kind to the elderly, to show respect, because it makes its way up to God and, of course, the rulers of our people. Again, respect is something that's woefully lacking. Now, verse 29 of chapter 22, you shall not delay to offer the first of your ripe produce and your juices. Now, this again is going to be repeated over and over and over and over again. When you think about worship, I think one of the things we don't intend to do, but we're doing it. We don't intend to, but we're doing it. We're sending all the wrong messages, particularly as it has to do with the collection. And what I mean by that, I'm not trying to criticize or be ugly. I haven't made note of this before and been totally ignored. That's okay. I'm a preacher. I'm used to being ignored. I'm just going to say it anyway. I mean, at least it's been said. I'm going to say it again. When we make a statement like, well, we have another commandment, which is, I know it's not meant. I know that's not intended. Psychologically, however, when we as human beings hear something framed in that fashion, it sounds like, okay, well, in case we forget that one too, why do we come here? Let's just stop and think about it. What are we doing here? When you go back to Cain and Abel, what were they doing? They were bringing something. Worshiping God by bringing something. And God's saying, when you come to appear before it, don't come empty-handed. Bring the first fruits. I'm just saying, brother, we need to be real careful how we speak and how we talk about what it is we're doing. It's not just another command. Actually, if you want to be honest about it, our giving is a reflection of our love. It's what it really should be thought of as an expression of love. We have the opportunity to express our love to God rather than, oh, it's another commandment we got to do before we got the trays up here and it's convenient. We can do it. I mean, we're sending all the wrong message. I know that's not what we mean, and I don't mean to be ugly about it. But we really need to stop and think. What are we unintentionally saying? And it does come across that way. Like, this is just something else we got to get done before the time runs out. And it's like, what's the heart of worship? I mean, you go back to the very dawn of time, including the time of Moses, and it certainly is the time now, is to give, to bring an offering. And we act like that's secondary. It's just, we'll do that later, Anyway, something to think about. That's all I'm saying. And I hope many are hearing this. But yes, sir.
One of the biggest misconceptions of the offering is that people always think that goes directly to the preacher.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
A lot of people always think, oh, well, it's paying for his whatever. Like, people don't understand what the meaning of it actually is. People
if you're paying for my sermon, that's starved to death. But no, that's nice. But you're right. There are a lot of misconceptions about it. But when you look at this passage, God is to get the very best. Our first, not last, not second, not third. We don't just take, it costs a lot of money to eat at McDonald's. I don't do that very often. But I do have grandchildren that eat there sometimes, and they get away $30, $40 at McDonald's. I mean, you could spend that at Olive Garden, on one of their deals, one of the specials. And I'm like, that's crazy. How much do you give on the first day of the week? And how many of those McDonald's meals could you buy with what you give? I mean, these are things that, and I don't know what's happened to us, why we have such struggle with giving, but I think, I may be wrong, and if I'm wrong, you'll just dismiss everything. You probably are dismissing it anyway, but let's be thinking about our verbiage and what we say when we're handing out the collection tray. It's not just another command. It is a command, yes, but it's more than that. 2 Corinthians 8, it is an expression of our love. That's what we do. We're here to express our love to God. And how do we? By giving God our best. So when you make your budget out, who's at the top of your budget? That's the way it must be. It must always be that way. And again, when we're thinking about acceptable worship, we have to look at it in that light. Honor the Lord with your substance. This is Proverbs chapter 3, by the way, verse 9. Honor the Lord with your substance and with the first fruits of all your increase. So shall your barn be filled with plenty, and your press will burst with new wine. In other words, God's telling even the people in the time of Solomon, you give properly and you'll be taken care of. He said the same thing to us. If you give sparingly, you'll reap sparingly. You give bountifully, you'll reap bountifully. Give unto men, and what shall they do if you do good and give to men? They will give you in turn. Men will give you what? Good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. And now, it really comes down to a question of faith. Do I believe that? Do I believe God? That He's telling me the truth? If I seek first His kingdom, that He'll take care of me? Do I believe it? Well, again, all these things are extremely important to who we are internally, where we are in our heart. Not just what we do externally, but what motivates us to do what we're doing. And these are things we really need to stop and think long and hard about. Okay, you're to be my holy people, last verse, I believe, verse 31. And you must not eat the meat of a mauled animal found in the field. You are to throw it to the dogs. Okay, well, God didn't want them to eat a dead animal they just found laying out, dead. And chew the buzzards off and eat it. I mean, why? Why would God say, and why would this be connected with being a holy people? You're a holy people, so don't eat what's dead of its own accord. Any thoughts?
Probably disease.
Well, that's true. God's looking out for them. He didn't explain all of that, but yeah, that would be part of it. Disease, yeah. That's why they couldn't have bacon. That's terrible. I mean, wow, I'm so glad I wasn't born into that law. But yeah, it could be disease. That's part of it. That's exactly it. I don't think you can look at it any other way, Robert. How did you know that? You read my notes today when you're up here today? Okay, that's good. No, you're right. Absolutely right. Genesis 9, when Noah got off the ark, God told the human race, everything that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything, but you shall not eat flesh with its life. That is, its blood. So this is from Noah's time, and now we're moving up to the time of Christ. I mean, we're in our era now. This is James at the Jerusalem Council. And he says, my judgment is that we should not trouble those of the Gentiles who turn to God, but should write to them to abstain from things polluted by idols, from sexual immorality, and from what has been strangled, and from blood. So if there's a carcass lying on the ground, it wasn't bled properly. Don't eat it. You're a holy people. What is it about the blood that's so important? What's God saying about blood? Well, He told Noah, don't eat the flesh with its life. What is its life? You drain your body of blood, and what happens to you? God made us. He knows what makes us live, and so we have to have blood, right, to live. And so our blood needs to be healthy to live properly. So we have this life blood in us, but it's sacred. And we're not to eat blood. We're not to drink blood. And I know this sounds crazy, but there are cultures that do that. I mean, I'll never forget my brother telling me about his work in Cuba and how the brethren there to honor him, would kill a pig. And they did that in horrific fashion. They would grab it by the snout and slit its throat and let it bleed out. But they would capture the blood in a container, and then they would gut it, and they would clean the guts out, and they would put the blood in the guts and tie the guts together, put them in the refrigerator, get them sufficiently cold so that they could have a refreshment later on in the evening, drinking pure pig blood. That actually happens, just a little bit south of us. You say, well, that's terrible. It's awful. It's really bad. But there are still cultures that do that. It's a sin. We don't think about it, though. We say, oh, yeah, drink of blood. It's a sin. It's a sin. I mean, it's the same as idolatry, sexual immorality. It's part of it. And it always has been that way. And it never will change. When you think about Jesus shedding his blood, literally means he gave his life, right? So everything about our blood is sacred. And so because you're a holy people, don't eat something just died on the side of the road. It hadn't been bled properly, so don't eat it. Anyway, how'd you know that? I'm impressed. I pick on Robert all the time because he picks on me. He's actually meaner to me than I am to him. But y'all don't hear all that mean stuff he says to me. But this is a quality guy. And he does a lot around here. But when he teaches class, man, that guy comes prepared. I mean, he really does. He does a great job. And y'all need to encourage him. I know it's going to make Donna miserable because he makes her miserable when he has to teach a class. And me too. But maybe he'll get over that one day, Donna. He won't be so hard on everybody. But I appreciate his determination. And I know a lot of you are that way. But I'm calling you out, Robert, but I appreciate you. And thank you. And you're right about that blood thing. Chapter 23. Any questions or comments, by the way? I didn't stop. I'm stopping. I am stopping. Okay. Any questions, comments?
Well, I will say that my mom always said about giving that you can't outgive God.
She's right about that.
And that's the truth.
You cannot outgive God. Okay, you shall not circulate a false report. Do not put your hand with the wicked to be an unrighteous witness. You shall not follow a crowd to do evil, nor shall you testify in a dispute so as to turn aside after many to pervert justice. You shall not show partiality to a poor man in a dispute. If you meet your enemy's ox or his donkey going astray, you shall surely bring it back to him again. If you see the donkey of one who hates you lying under its burden, and you would refrain from helping it, you shall surely help him with it. You shall not pervert the judgment of your poor in a dispute. Keep yourself far from a false matter. Do not kill the innocent and righteous. For I will not justify the wicked, and you shall take no bribe, for a bribe blinds the discerning and perverts the words of the righteous. Also, you shall not oppress a stranger, for you know the heart of a stranger, because you were strangers in the land of Egypt. 6 years you shall sow your land and gather in its produce, but the 7th year you shall let it rest and lie fallow, that the poor of your people may eat, and what they leave the beasts of the field may eat. In like manner you shall do with your vineyard and your olive grove. 6 days you shall do work, and on the 7th day you shall rest, that your ox and your donkey may rest, and the son of your female servant and the stranger may be refreshed. And in all that I have said to you, be circumspect, and make no mention of the name of other gods, nor let it be heard from your mouth. 3 times you shall keep a feast to me in the year. You shall keep the feast of unleavened bread. You shall eat unleavened bread 7 days, as I commanded you at the appointed time in the month, brother Abib. For in it you came out of Egypt. None shall appear before me empty. And the feast of harvest, the first fruits of your labor, which you have sown in the field, and the feast of ingathering at the end of the year, when you have gathered in the fruit of your labors from the field. 3 times in the year all your males shall appear before the Lord God. You shall not offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread, nor shall the fat of my sacrifice remain until morning. The first of the first fruits of your land shall bring into the house of the Lord your God. You shall not boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Hold that thought. I know what you're thinking. Behold, I send an angel before you to keep you in the way and to bring you into the place which I have prepared. Beware of him and obey his voice. Do not provoke him, for he will not pardon your transgressions, for my name is in him. But if you indeed obey his voice and do all that I speak, then I will be an enemy to your enemies and an adversary to your adversaries. For my angel will go before you, bring you into the Amorites, the Hittites, the Perizzites, the Canaanites, the Hivites, the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. You shall not bow down to their gods nor serve them, nor do according to their works, but you shall utterly overthrow them and completely break down their sacred pillars. You shall serve the Lord your God, and he will bless your bread and your water, and I will take sickness away from the midst of you. No one shall suffer miscarriage or be barren in your land. I will fulfill the number of your days. I will send my fear before you. I will cause confusion among all the people to whom you come, and will make all your enemies turn their backs to you. And I will send hornets before you, which shall drive out the Hittite, the Canaanite, the Hivite from before you. I will not drive them out before you in 1 year, lest the land become desolate and the beasts of the field become too numerous for you. Little by little I will drive them out from before you until you have increased and you inherit the land. And I will set your bounds from the Red Sea to the sea, Philistia, and from the desert to the river. For I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and you shall drive them out before you. You shall make no covenant with them, nor with their gods. They shall not dwell in your land, lest they make you sin against me. For if you serve their gods, it will surely be a snare to you. Okay, we've got a lot of ground to cover. He begins the chapter with lying, telling a lie, making up a lie. But he doesn't actually talk about making up a lie. He talks about spreading a lie. In other words, you're embracing it and then you're spreading it. And so you're party to a lie. And so someone is telling a lie about someone because they want to get the upper hand in some dispute, some election, or whatever. And so they lie. And they suborn other witnesses who will then also lie with them. And God's saying, you can't do that. What's wrong with lying? Everything? Okay. What is lying? Why do people lie? Okay, what now? Personal gain, yeah. Cover up a wrong, yeah. True. Shame, all right. Laid off on somebody else, yeah. Not my fault. You made me do it. Yeah. To get what they want. Manipulation, isn't it? I mean, whenever you think about a lie, you're actually manipulating someone. You're talking about a relationship. Now, it is troubling to me, and I'm just being honest with you. Brothers, if your wife comes into the room and says, "How does this look on me?" And you can't lie, what do you do? I'm curious I know what I do. What do you do? Do I? No one could wear that like you. Go ask Tessa. Oh my. Dysfunctional family right there. Did you have a comment, Vicki? Oh, you're just waving your hand at me. Okay. All right. Well, lying's not a good thing. You should not follow a multitude to do evil, nor speak in a cause, to decline after many to wrest judgment. Of course, that's what he's warning against here. What does it mean? Don't follow the crowd. Don't follow the multitude. I don't think it's as easy to answer as we might think. When you think about the media today, that's why I don't watch the news, by the way. It's not really news, it's propaganda. I don't care what outlet you're looking at, either the right or the left, they're pushing an agenda. They want you to think and respond the way they want you to think and respond. I can't stand that. I like to think for myself. I like to see things for myself. I'm like, I'll weigh my own options. Thank you. I don't want you telling me what to think about. You ever notice that on 24/7 news? They talk about the same stinking thing over and over and over. Like, man, there's a world of 8 billion people out there. There's got to be something interesting. Picture some guy killing a frog or something. I mean, anything beats what we hear day after day after day after day. Like, my, they're kind of boring. But anyway, people get caught up in the frenzy. So we can whip people up into a frenzy because that's how mob behavior acts. And we saw it just 3 years ago, longer than that. I mean, the news media starts talking about injustice and, we've got to defund the police. And before you know it, our cities are burning. Our buildings are being looted. Our businesses are being destroyed. And people's lives are ending. Why? Because somebody whipped them up into a frenzy. And so when you think about mob mentality, mob behavior, it's dangerous. Because you just can't. I remember when I was taking my class in sociology many years ago, my teacher liked me. I don't know why, he's a weird guy, but he liked me. And I guess I'm weird too. But I liked the class because I kind of just intuitively knew. I didn't even study. I made straight A's. And anyway, in his class. But one of the things you learn about group behavior, it's kind of like a virus. You know, when you're in a group and everybody's acting crazy, well, you kind of feel obligated to act crazy too, you know, because, hey, everybody's going crazy. I'm going to go crazy too. I'm going to pick up a brick. I'm going to whatever. I mean, just don't get involved in the mob. Stay away from the mob. You know, don't get carried away in the heat of the moment or with the propaganda and the lies. You know, when I think about following a multitude of evil, this is what really irks me. I don't know if it's my Celtic blood or what, but there's something about groupthink that just really bothers me. Everybody got to get in line and follow the party line, do what we said. This is the tolerant group, by the way. These tolerant hippies that are now running our country are telling us that this is the way you're supposed to speak, this is the way you're supposed to talk, this is the way you're supposed to act, this is the clothes you're supposed to wear, the place you're supposed to go, places you shouldn't go, and everybody that's anybody is going to get in line and do what we tell you to do. I don't know, to me, I just want to resist it. I just is my nature. I've always been that way, hadn't I? You used to whip me a lot for that, didn't you? Didn't work, but made me more stubborn, I guess. But if everybody's doing it, I'm probably not going to, just because it's probably not a good thing to follow the multitude. I mean, when you think about what Jesus said in the Sermon on the Mount, strive to enter into the straight gate. Why? Because wide is the gate, broad is the way that leads to destruction, and many there be. That's where the crowds are. The crowds are going to hell. They're going to destruction. That's where they're going. And do you really want to follow the crowd? Well, everybody believes that. Everybody, I don't think that. I don't believe that. I don't endorse that. I'm not guided by mob mentality. I don't follow the crowd. You know, when you think about the crowd that was there at Pilate's praetorium, or not at praetorium, but there at his judgment seat, when you think about that crowd that was there, they're all chanting what? Crucify him. Why? Even Pilate was carried away. What evil has this man done? Well, why are we crucifying this man? Well, you can work the mob up and get them to do whatever you want them to do. It's not generally a good idea to follow the crowd. Did you have a comment? Oh, I thought you were raising your hand. By the way, justice is blind. That's where we are in this chapter. And I think that's the overarching theme. We even see it reflected, you know, with our statues outside our court buildings. And sometimes, you know, justice just has a blind spot, and it doesn't always see the way it should see because, well, we understand in just what this chapter is talking about. There's money under the table, and there are deals that are being made, and it happens all the time. And what does that do for the general population when they understand their so-called leaders are behaving this way? What does it cause us to do? Lose heart. That's it. I mean, you just nailed it. I mean, just lose heart. You lose heart in your nation, in your culture. I mean, yeah, you can dump the tea in the harbor and say, okay, you know, bring it on, and the battle is on. That you can do that, and that's happened. And I'm afraid we're heading that way because this elite group that's trying to do this, eventually one day, you know, Joe Brown's going to stand up and say, I've had enough of this. They're still in jail. Because they said, could you please count and make sure that threw them in jail. And they're still in jail. Not even been tried yet. Yes, sir?
Before we get off of the topic of the false report and all that and the social media has done a lot to mess with that in our world, in our society. And it goes both ways. And for us as Christians, we have to be very careful about the things that we see on social media and then what we choose to share. People can write whatever article they want, put whatever picture they want with whatever quote they want, put it out there on social media, doesn't mean it's accurate, doesn't mean it's true.
That's right.
If we're not careful about the things that we put out there, yeah, I know we pick apart the fact checkers and all that. We got to be our own fact checkers.
Absolutely.
If we are not careful about the things that we post, the things that we put out there, it will ruin our reputation.
Yes.
Sorry, this is one thing I get worked up about. I don't get worked up about a lot, but this is.
Have I posted something recently that I didn't should have posted? Is it? I'm getting paranoid now. I'm like, what did I do?
I'm one of those people that just looks at social media. I don't post it.
Okay, yeah.
But, I mean, as Christians, we need to know, we need to do our own research, we need to do our own
presenting
fact
facts.
checking and make sure that what we're putting out there is accurate.
Absolutely.
And also, just because it's accurate, do we need to be posting it?
Depends on what it is, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we gotta be careful too about,
Use your judgment, yeah.
yeah.
Well, the fact checks are if it quacks like a duck and walks like a duck, it's probably a chicken. So, Vicky, anything else we need? No, I'm good. Okay. All right. Hey, y'all actually spoke tonight. Some of you. That's improvement. We're getting somewhere. Because they'll listen to Vicky. That's right. Yeah, thank you. So, thank y'all. That was a what? Oh, yeah. You never know. Who's leading singing? Oh. 812 in your songbook, please. Don't forget, this Sunday is the first Sunday of March, but we're not having our usual fellowship meal. We're going to postpone that until the week of our gospel meeting on the 17th. The Feed the Preacher lists are on the table in the foyer. Please pick up one of those sheets and sign what night you would like to participate and that sort of thing. The ladies' Bible study, the next one will be the first at 10 a.m. That's Friday morning, right? Friday morning at 10 a.m. here at the building. Please note the evening session is on Tuesday next week and not Monday as normally. So that'll be on the 5th. Pantry unloading. Are we doing that again next week? Wow, you didn't say nothing. Yeah, we'll be receiving the next load of items for the Midwest Food Bank Tuesday the 5th. That's next. Is that Tuesday? Wow. If you can help in unloading the truck, please be here at 11:30 for the Dorcas Pantry. Okay. Glad I remembered that. Don't forget the Hunter Ware wedding. Everyone is invited to the wedding of Kayla Hunter and Elijah Ware on the 23rd at 2. If you plan to attend the reception to follow, please RSVP to Kayla by Monday, the 11th. There's an area-wide widowhood fellowship. The next one will be March the 12th at 5 p.m. And if you can help with food, please see Deanna Johnson. Jane Smith continues in Piedmont and Noonan. Taru Adair is recovering. She's been having some time with pain, but she does seem to be recovering well. Sarah Sanders is still having issues. She's not with us tonight, is she, Elijah? She's still having issues with her health. They have not told her yet what the underlying cause is, or they don't know. Have you not heard anything? Nothing yet. So we want to remember her. Also, Larry Stubblefield did have eye surgery. And hey, when do we spring forward? When? The 10th? Wow, that's coming up quick. So the Stubblefields will be back because it'll be daylight and we'll have them here. And he got better eyesight than me now. So, okay. I hope you're listening, Larry, and good for you. And the next one is scheduled for the 11th, the surgery. All right. We'll have the cards and the information and the stamps, all the good stuff that's always so well provided for us on the table and before you. Please avail yourself of that. The song number again, Chris, was 812 in your song books. It's good to be with you tonight. It's good to be here and to enjoy this time in Bible study and fellowship. It's good to have the opportunity, if we need to make things right with God, obeying the gospel or being restored. Wednesday night's always a good time to do that. And this is the best time I know because it's the only time we have. So if we are in need, if you have anything we can help you with, please don't hesitate to make your need known while together we stand and as we sing.
All things are ready, come to the feast, come for the table now is spread. Ye famishing, ye weary, come, and thou shalt be richly fed. Hear the invitation, come whosoever will. Praise God for full salvation, for whosoever will. All things are ready, come to the feast. Come, for the door is open wide. A place of honor is reserved for you at the Master's side. Hear the invitation, come whosoever will. Praise God for full salvation, for whosoever will. All things are ready, come to the feast. Leave every care and worldly strife. Come feast upon the love of God and drink everlasting life. Hear the invitation, come hear the invitation, whosoever will. Praise God for salvation, for whosoever will.
One other item, deacons, the elders need to meet with you briefly, just briefly. We do need to brainstorm about something. If you could meet us in the library as soon as we've dismissed, and we'll try to expedite this quickly. Thank you.
Let us pray. Our Father in heaven, be pleased with the gathering here tonight, that we seek your wisdom through your word, that we learn, and that we always will be in your sight and your mind, that the grace and the peace of the Lord Jesus Christ always be with us, that we could spread the gospel, obey the gospel, learn the gospel, uphold the truth to you. These things we ask in the Lord Jesus Christ's name. Amen.